We are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Hack Shack Studios. RT Bear here, and I'm going to be talking to the great Vaughn Klaus. Hey, VONSTER, how are you?
Hey, bud. How are you? I'm doing great, man.
Good, good, good. So, do you have any New Year's resolutions? How was
Nope.
2099 or 19?
2019 was me stepping out into the comic book world, and it's been nothing but fun, man. So it was good. It was a good year. I got, I've got my new house. I got a nice house. I got a sweet cat. I've got a good job, and I'm stepping into comics. So I cannot complain. How about you, man?
Yeah, good, good. You're stepping in big time. I have a link to Monster MD in the description. So if you guys are curious about Von Klaus's new book, Monster MD, you can click that. But don't do it now. Don't do it now. Do it after the show. After the show. Yes. Well, 2019, man, what an adventure. It was pretty amazing. I got two projects out. Well, not out, but up on Indiegogo. One is in fulfillment, and the other one is in demand. So that would be Black and White and Chrono Mechanics, and managed to squeeze a small little crowd fund for an art book called Oodles of Doodles and other stuff too. So yeah, it's been busy. And I think during the beginning of 2019, I was still working at DC Comics. So
wow. What a shift.
So I'm hoping that 2020 we can get a lot of new projects out and entertain the folks with some comic book storytelling.
Sounds awesome to me, man. Yeah, I can't wait to see what you do. And I've got 2020 plans for my next big project. So you guys I've already started dipping my toes in the waters for teasing people on it. So you'll see a lot more in the future, but I'm really excited about it.
People like to be teased.
They do. That's like one of the secrets to Monster MD is just making them they started getting mad at me for not launching my campaign. And that's when you should launch it, when they're just livid.
Yeah. But the thing is, man, you showed a lot of pages on your Monster MD Indiegogo page. So that's really cool, because some people, they don't like to, either they don't have the pages done or they don't like to show the pages. But I like it. I tease it, man. Yeah. Be proud of it. Get it out there.
I mean, this is a visual medium, and that's what these people want. Give them what they want. Get them excited about it. I mean, who doesn't flip through a comic before you pick it up off the shelves in the store? You know,
you always do. Yeah,
always.
And you know what? I always go from the back to the front, man. I am like, even when I get novels or look at books, I always read the end before I buy it.
Yeah.
I'm a cheater. I'm a big time cheater.
Walking spoiler alert, you know, the self-spoiler. Well, I mean, I've definitely done that too. I want to see how epic and, you know, I want to see how good the art is. I mean, that's what keeps us invested a lot of times, but yeah, it's it's not bad to show off a lot. Go ahead. I even thought about like, how much should I show? It's just when the big scenes happen that I really want to affect the reader. Just like when they turn the page, when they get hit, those are what you do not see from Monster MD. So
yeah, any kind of real story
reveal.
Reveal and stuff like that. But you still want to get some big, cool moments in there so you can entice them, but not anything that's going to spoil the story. I find myself, whenever I post things, I always explain what's happening on the page. Like, I give them what's behind the scenes, like, this is what this character's doing, this is what that character's doing. I can't help it, man.
Yeah. Catch yourself though, and be like, well, maybe I can find a more interesting way to like make this a tease. You know, sometimes I'll just post some of the dialogue from the page in quotations, so people will see what they're going to be saying. You know, which can be funny. You know, there could be good jokes on that page, or like kind of a creepy moment. So,
well, you have, I think, 2 or 3 pages that have dialogue on them, don't you? That are up on your Indiegogo.
I don't remember. I remember intentionally not posting dialogue. But there was a test panel where I did the lettering that has dialogue in it that's actually not going to be like that in the comic, because I was just doing a test thing, and that was just a panel. But for the most part, yeah, I don't think I didn't have any lettered pages.
Okay, because I thought there was one where the character's walking from a van or something. Death Metal Hero.
You're right, actually. Yeah, that was my test panel where I was trying to find the right font for this book with Eric, and we went back and forth on things for a while because, you know, it's all about perfection, right? As you know. And yeah, man, I took this one font and I did some bubbles with it, and I just kind of took some lines out of my script, or lines I wanted to add to my script later, of Heidi and Wyatt talking back and forth while they were leaving the meat wagon. And man, yeah, it looked good. It came out sounding good. I ended up just throwing it up onto the Indiegogo so people could see a little bit of chitter chatter between Wyatt and Heidi. I mean, in the end, one of the main selling points is their relationship and their, you know, their dynamic. So
yeah, it looks great. And I did actually put 4 pages up on the Chrono site with dialogue in it. And I did it mainly so people could see the tone, because I think they're a little confused about the tone with Chrono. They think it is kind of an all age comic, but it's not necessarily a kid's book. So I wanted to show them that it had some edge to it.
That's good.
That's why I did it. But the text is so small, it's hard to read. So you have to really squint your eyes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'll probably be posting stuff up later as we go, just to give people a little bit more of a flavor of what's going on and the tonality of the book.
Did you do the script yourself for this, or did you work with anyone? Or
yeah, I work with my wife on.
Oh yeah.
Like usually the plot and the story is me, so I'll block all that out, and then my wife is really good with dialogue and things like that. So she helps me, and she understands the voice of the characters in ways better than I do, which is horrible. But yeah, she manages to catch the tone and the character in the dialogue, which is pretty amazing. And that's
that's a great skill she has there. That
Mm-hmm.
when you can hear them, almost as if they're talking to you, you know.
Yeah.
I hear Grant Morrison say things like, you know, the characters tell me what to write, you know, like what they're going to say. And as I write more and more and get into my characters and start to, you know, understand that part of my writing and delve into like who they are, it's like, I'm not going to worry as much as I'm just going to listen to them. Like, what do they want to say? What are they thinking and feeling right now? You know?
Yeah, that's what I'm actually starting to trust myself a lot more. And I work better on an intuitive level. Like I put thought into it. So it's not like I'm not, you know, thinking about the stuff, but you know, you have all that in your head. And so even when I draw and when I write, it's almost better that I don't think about anything, you know, so I'm very present. I'm very in the moment. So then you can hear the characters' voices and you can just kind of go with the moment versus, I don't know, doing stuff that doesn't feel right or forcing something. So I've learned that over the years, and it was not an easy lesson.
No, it's tough.
And it takes years and years. Yeah. So did you want to get into the topic of today?
Yes.
Let us get into the topic. So it was like content providers for the first time. So as you say, noobs. So putting up an Indiegogo, writing your first comic, putting that out in front of people for the whole world to see, hopefully accept, not shame, not ridicule, but actually accept and enjoy. So I think it's a good subject to talk about. And I know there's a lot of aspiring people that listen to us on our shows and that hang out in the chat. So I think this will be a good topic for today. Do you want to get into it?
Yeah, love to, man.
Go for it.
I'm Vaughn, everyone, just in case you didn't know. I'm brand new to breaking into comics in this kind of new way, and a lot of people have been talking about in terms of crowdfunding, developing an audience online, and raising the funds for your book and getting it out to the world, man, and just doing it your own way. I think it's kind of awesome to be part of this. When I was a kid, all I wanted to do was break into Marvel and DC. That was the dream. And then in college, the dream shifted to more to Dark Horse. and then it shifted into, I'm not going to be able to break into comics. It's just not the way it works. I'll just do web comics and have fun because I love making comics. And if I build an audience, I was going to crowdfund it, but I never thought of crowdfunding as its own route to really breaking in until Comicsgate happened. And I started realizing that I have all this experience with marketing, advertising stuff from when I ran like an online store back in the day and sold a lot of funky cosplay products that people loved. And I moved on from that, went to film school, learned story and all my artsy stuff. And I was like, well, man, I could make this happen. I could really make, take this book, Monster MD, and make it something like a little bit of a phenomenon. So I started work on it and immediately I showed the cover when we had that. People went bonkers. I started getting more followers. And so I was this total noob at everything. And yet I had a little experience with marketing and getting people excited and making a product. I just paid a lot of close attention to what a lot of people did with their Indiegogos and how they kind of cultivated an online presence. I wasn't able to do YouTube as much, but I do have a YouTube, believe it or not, Rise Again Comics. And I did some videos and they're really silly and whatever, but it was, I'd love to be able to do that if I didn't have the full-time job, but it's been like an amazing experience. I mean, since I've gotten to meet you, Art, I've gotten to talk to Ethan, I've gotten to meet all these different great artists that I've looked up to for years, and just learn from you guys. It's been amazing, man. One of the things I could recommend to people is planning out, having regularly scheduled posts to promote your product, your book in fun ways. If it's just a panel or a page or even just a character design, and just engaging them with content that makes them interested to get involved, to want to learn more about your book, to want to follow you so that they can find out when it comes out. A lot of people told me the key to Monster MD was I had gotten them so hyped for this book that they could not wait for it, because I just kept every day a little trickle of information or more art or whatever. So as a new guy,
can I interject? I'll tell you right now what the major turn on of Monster MD is. It's what I always want to do, is that the product itself sells it. Like, it really is the product, Vaughn. Like, what you created connects, and it is the content and it's the product itself. Because when you look at it, you get a reaction, and I mean in a favorable way. Like, you look at it and you go, aesthetically, this looks great. You can understand the storytelling, and then your rundown is just really clear, concise, and it's so easily digestible and relatable. And that's, I'm telling you, it's not easy to do, but man, you nailed it. And I never want to be that guy that has to be the voice, like to sell something. You know what I mean? I always want my work to sell itself. I never want to be the used car salesman and go, hey, look at this, and try to trick somebody into like buying my stuff. I always wanted it to be self-evident. You know what I mean? You put it out there and then it's like, it connects. And that's what you did, my friend. And I know every time I have you on, I always like kiss your ass and tell you all these things, but man, it is true. And I am completely envious. And I am glad to be able to call you friend, because this is cool to be able to hang out with a talent like this. I mean, you just need some time, but you're doing very well. And for your first big Indiegogo campaign. So I want to get to this. Adam Friended. Thank you so much, Adam. I do appreciate the super chat. Artists change the world. Yes, they do.
That's right.
We do, my friend, and we will continue to do so. So thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Keep going, man. I'm sorry. I just wanted to.
No, thank you.
All over you for.
Well, you made a good point. When part of selling it is not just you, and it's not just trickery. Like, I don't even look at selling for me as trickery, because I want to just be so confident in my product that it comes out and gets people excited about it too, But it's also, like you said, I have a very complete vision for Monster MD that really translates well. And people get it right away and they go, oh, he's a monster doctor. Oh, cool. Look at all the adventures he gets into as a monster doctor. That's fun. That's appealing, you know. I took elements of things that has a lot of appeal, and then I gave it my, you know, with Marco, of course, the amazing artist on Monster MD, we gave it this aesthetic that's like kind of like adult Pixar is what everyone has, or some people have described it as. And I think people can dig that, you know. So it's been you know, as an artist though, to get here, I got my ass kicked for years, and everything I tried to do failed. Everything every time I tried to make a Monster MD type thing, it would just fall apart for one reason or another, or some other creator I worked with would change it into something else, or, you know, or I'd get censored or edited, or my script would be turned into political fodder or something. I was just so like nuts for it. So I'm really glad this one worked out, because this is how I want to make stuff. This is me feeling like I'm finally getting on the stage and it's actually successful, which is like the greatest blessing, right? This is
because Chrono is 15 years in the making, and the reason I'm looking forward to the sketchbook and the work in progress Chrono book is there's going to be some stuff I've never showed anybody, like really crude early like napkin kind of drawings of the characters. And so you can see the progression of these characters and how much, you know, experimentation it takes to get something that looks relatively simple in the book. You know what I mean? It looks like, oh, it's always been that way. No, it hasn't always been that way. You know, like some of these characters were completely different in every way. You know, not just visually, but also just in character themselves. Yeah. Backstory, things like that.
When people see the Monster MD sketchbook, they're going to see this little digital monstrosity I put together, which shows Ryan Reynolds as Dr. Wyatt Black. Like I envisioned it as Ryan Reynolds. Like I think I was on a Deadpool movie kick back then, and I was like, he could play him. He could play him really well. You know, so sometimes that helps your artist too, and it helps with the voice of your character when you can assign a popular actor that you like to them. So yeah, man, things change.
That's always a problem that I have is I don't see it that way. Like I really see them as the comic book characters. And I've worked with other writers, and they always say like, "Oh, well, it would be this actor in this role," and I'm like, you know, like, if I thought in those terms, and I'm trying to more and more think in those terms, where if I did have an actor or some kind of real stand-in for the character, because it really does help. It helps visualize them and just the mannerisms and. And it does help when you're writing to have a visual that you can go to. So this is kind of, I don't want it to well, I guess it could turn into a Q&A. I don't really care. These things are organic. But we have, I think this is the question. Should a newbie work on YouTube first or then work on the comic, or launch and simultaneously work on YouTube? Well, I'm going to speak first, and then I'll see what Vaughn has to say. Sometimes I made a big mistake early on a year ago. Is I'm a pretty linear person. So how I made it through 35 years of comic books is put my head down, and I kind of have a laundry list of things I have to do. So it's boom, boom, boom. But what I'm finding is it's not serving me anymore. What I have to do is it can't be linear. It has to be, there still has to be a to-do list, but it kind of has to go from like art to YouTube to promoting to looking into, you know, printing. It's like, it's kind of all over the place. So my advice is it's all the above. It's everything. Start looking into even print runs, different printers, how much it's going to cost you. You know, it's all those things. And I believe the reason I had a problem with this a year ago is because even when I self-published years ago, it was through Image, and there was administrative, there was administration, there were people that handled certain things. You know, they ran the ads, they talked to Diamond, they had the retailers, you know, they had all those things. And pretty much all I had to do is be responsible for the book itself. You know what I mean? A little bit of promotion, but really just the book itself. And so I didn't realize going in that I knew that I had to do all these things, but I didn't know I had to do them all kind of simultaneously. You know, I had to do them all at the same time. So my advice to you is do all of it right now.
Yeah.
Educate yourself, wear all the hats. So how do you feel, Vaughn?
Yeah, it's a juggling act for sure. Like you're gonna make a time, section out time for promotion, section out time for YouTube, section out time for that. But here's the thing: you need make your YouTube and then let that YouTube be something that helps promote your book as you work on your book. And as you get more done on your book, take it over to YouTube and say, hey, look what I made. And then put it on Twitter, start building excitement with your audience. YouTube has been a great way to reach people and to build fandoms. It's not an easy thing. You have to be able to do it daily if you can. You have to be, I cannot. You have to be able to have content that engages people, and it seems easy when you like channels and you see these people doing it, but most people are, if you go out there and search into the abyss of YouTube, you're going to see a lot of people who only are stuck at like 400, 500 subs and just kind of floundering there. That's pretty much me, because I don't put out content. But yeah, it's definitely, you have to look at all of it as tools for getting yourself out there. So don't worry about the order of doing it. I think like what Art said is right. Juggle away.
Yeah, and as far as the juggling, I heard an interview with Todd McFarlane, and he said it is a juggling act, but you also have to figure out how many balls you can juggle, which sounds funny, but it's very Todd. Because even a juggler has a limit to how many balls they can keep in the air at one time. So everybody's limit's different. He said, I have 3 balls. He has 3 balls that he can juggle at one time. So I think that's also good advice, because just like if you do overextend yourself, then you drop all the balls. You know what I mean? So the metaphor really does work. And also what Vaughn was saying about a YouTube presence and things is it took me a long time to kind of come out of my shell. Even when I was in a band, I played in front of an audience and things like that, but I was a drummer, so I got to hide behind the kit, and then, when I broke into comic books, I did pencil and write, but I mostly ink. So I was more in a supportive role. So I always got to kind of hang back a little bit. And so now it's not, it's like, it's me, baby. This is it, for right, wrong, or indifferent. And what was the big breakthrough for me was I saw a documentary on David Bowie, who I've always loved. And I always liked the way he maintained his career, because he always seemed relevant over 30, 40 years of doing music. And so he kept reinventing himself. But he said early on, he was very shy and he wasn't comfortable in front of the mic, in front of, an audience and things like that. So what he did is he had this revelation one day, and he was like, I'll be a character. I'll be this other person. You know what I mean? So he imagined himself as this different entity. So then by not being David, whatever his name, Davy Jones, or whatever his real name is, he became David Bowie. So then it was a persona, and then he just inherited that persona and went out there. And so one of the things that we do is we entertain. So I try to look at it as like, it is Archie Bear, but it's a bigger art. You know what I mean? This isn't really who I am. This is like the bigger, brasher, more outrageous, more entertaining Archie Bear. So I think
the Goblin King Archie Bear.
The Goblin, yes, from Labyrinth.
I love that. Yeah. Well, you do. I mean, you have to rock star it up a little bit.
On that, like he had those balls.
Yeah, he knew how many balls he could handle.
Yeah,
in Labyrinth
in one hand, man.
That's right. That's right. Do you know those weren't special effects? They had to hire a professional ball handler to go behind David, and she had her hand, or maybe it was a he. I can't remember if it was she or he, but they were like, "Woo!" like doing it for.
That's Hollywood magic. You just have another person's hand just kind of doing the things. Yeah. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Everybody.
Yeah. Hollywood
ball handling in Labyrinth.
All the stuff you see in film, it isn't true. It isn't true. Some of it is fake. Just
all lies.
Some of it's fake. Yeah, so I hope we answered your question there. That was fun. So we have another question. How long until Art tries to sell Vaughn on an old car? Dude, I have an old Celica, 5-speed in the garage if you want it. Yeah.
I love my Jeep. I'm sticking with it.
It's a little like, I call it a go-kart, man. It's like a little roadster.
Fun times.
Yeah, so we have Adam Post. Hey brother, how are you?
Hey Adam.
Yeah. And we have Charlie's London.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, we got some cool people here in the chat.
Yeah, not bad at all. Yeah, I've just been, this has been such a cool experience, like breaking in for me, because I've always loved hanging out with artists. And those were my friends growing up, and we all inspired each other, and we didn't realize it. When you're young, you just do things and take it for granted. Now that I'm older and I don't have a lot of artsy friends, like this is where it's at for me, man. Like I get to talk with great people, get new ideas, see what they're working on, give them advice, they give me advice, whatever. And it's been great. So yeah, as a new guy to comics, and in a way, I'm still not really in comics because I'm not doing the big two, but yet I am, because they're counting what we make on these Indiegogos when it comes to money put into the industry. There's enough professional people kind of doing crowdfunding and doing their own thing now. So, I guess I'm coming into comics in just this new way. And it's exciting, man. I always wonder about how you came into comics, Art, though, what it was like for you when you broke in, which was like, when was that? The Stone Age.
Yeah, it was, I think officially it was 82. I was working with Jim Valentino, but mainstream was 84. So yeah, it's been a while, and it's quite different running your own IPs and doing crowdfunding and things like that than it was working even in the independents when I did them. Like I said, there was still a publishing company. There was a structure there that did a lot of administrative stuff, advertising, talking to printers, setting all that stuff up. But what we're doing is completely different. Like we are creating the whole book. There's nobody. Like you're looking at Vaughn right now in a room where there's nobody. That's exactly the metaphor. Like he's doing everything. Yeah.
I have no one.
I have no friends.
Nothing.
Nothing. No magic coming up and juggling some balls for us. No. we do not have that.
Nope.
Yeah. So, but also for me, it's the fun aspects, because I'm doing things way outside of my wheelhouse. And so for somebody that's been doing comics as long as I have, it's fun. It's fun to do all these different things. The only drawback, as it's always been in comics, is there's just no time. There's no time to do everything. So that's the only drawback.
That's what my whole life feels lately since I launched this campaign, man. There's no time. I don't have it. That's why I dropped the ball on YouTube. That's the thing I wanted to keep doing, to build an audience with, like you should do. But I decided to X that out. So, because I have my full-time job, and then I come home and my other full-time job is comics, Monster MD, and whatever other projects I want to work on. So it's been, I wish I could do more YouTube. That's the one I X'd off, for better or for worse. I still feel like I'm doing pretty well and getting people in via Twitter, I guess, when it comes to supporting me. So we'll see. If I make enough, though, I could leave my full-time job, and then you'll see a lot of YouTube from me. So
yeah, well, that's always the dream. I talked to somebody yesterday who really understands how to create a successful YouTube platform, and he said to do that is a full-time job unto itself. You know what I mean? To actually be able to create a YouTube channel that can sustain you, that can be financially worth the time that you invest into it. So yeah, it is the juggling act. But what my New Year's resolution is to try to figure out what I have to do every day, and then figure out how many hours I can spend on those things every day. Because as a creative person, sometimes, you think, oh, 2 or 3 hours I'm going to spend on this, and then it ends up being 4 or 5 hours,
Yeah.
So I'm trying to regulate and be aware of time, in a way that I wasn't the previous year. I just did it until it got done, and then find out that there were many other balls that I dropped along the way. And you just can't do that, because everything is just as important. Everything is priority, right? Priority one, like nothing really takes priority over the other. So especially when you're in fulfillment and you're in campaign, as they say.
I'm making Monster MD goodies for everybody. So I'm getting set up for fulfillment, getting my little bags ready. So we'll see how that goes.
Do you have kind of an ETA on fulfillment at this point?
No. I'm almost everything in the book is done except colors, and my colorist is churning out pages each day. So we're just waiting on that. Then I'll be able to better figure out.
So you have all the line work or line art done, right?
Yep.
Way ahead of the game right now. And just realize that if you use an overseas printer, add on 3 weeks to a month to your schedule.
I don't want to do that.
I didn't want to do it either, but it ended up, turning into that. So
yes, yeah. I'm worried about that. I don't want to do that. I'll see who I can find here in the good old US of A. Make it happen, man.
That's what I'm looking into right now for the Chrono campaign, is a more localized printer. And I think a lot of the problems that I had with black and white and the printer were because there was this distance, because I think if you could go in and talk to a printer, they're less likely to put you at arm's length. You know what I mean? They're going to have to deal with you because you're right there. But it's easy to blow off an email or to bullshit somebody in the form of an email, because it was always like, oh, well, I have to look into this. I have to talk to my whatever people or whatever. And so they always pass the buck. And by the time, you get your answer, it could be 2 days, just to get the single answer. But, if somebody's going to kind of, give me the runaround here, I'll just drive to the facility and I'll say, give me an answer right now. There's that guy.
Have you ever had to do that? Have you done that before?
Go ask that guy the question right there. He's there. Go ask him for me and stop buying your
nice
your BS. Yeah.
We'll see, man. We'll see. Because I've been talking to a lot of my closer art buddies about like who they went with for printing and stuff. So they're hooking me up, and I'm excited to get this book done, man. I mean, 128 pages. Whew. Like the original story was 75, and I just kept. I wanted to make this the coolest, biggest thing I could, so I just kept adding,
And now it is.
It is. But
the thing is, you have all the line art done, and that, my gosh, you're way ahead of the curve there, because that's the big hurdle. I know coloring does take time, but it doesn't quite take as much time as crafting the story, storytelling, writing. Oh, you got a little kitty there.
I do. Oh, get out of here.
Yeah. Cat, you.
You're a little punk.
So is there anything you wanted to share about, because it was content first time newbie, so do you want to share your experience of starting this whole journey with Monster MD?
So it went like this. I wanted to do what is now considered an old school version of crowdfunding your book, which is you build an audience for like years on the web by releasing your comic for free online, hopefully try to drive traffic to a website. Then you got to build a website, spend money on that probably, constant updates, whatever. And then you crowdfund your book, the collected edition, to the fans. It takes years. I've seen people do it successfully. I was going to do that just out of the sheer joy of it or whatever. I had this artist that was a different artist than Marco Maccagni. who I have on Monster MD now. I had this artist who did kind of a more grimy, gritty, kind of morose, sad version almost of Monster MD, where he didn't really capture the energy and the fun that I wanted. And frankly, he didn't care. He kind of just wanted some quick money, and he was into the book when it started. And by the end, he was turning out chicken scratch sketches as kind of a screw you to me. Everything kind of went down with that. I was all disheartened and thinking, like, I just can't make it work. I can't get my vision out to the world. Very frustrating. I'd put a lot of work into that version of Monster MD. It was 75 pages. It was for free on like Tapas back in the day. Took all that down. Had to make a big decision. Let's start fresh. Marco had said yes to working on Monster MD with me. I didn't expect him to. And I was like, okay, like with Marco and my colorist Tanya and my vision, and I feel like we've got something very special here. We've got something.
I know there's people, first timers, that are asking this. How did you find Marco?
I actually found him. His art was posted on some Facebook comic book group. And I don't even know if I don't remember if he was saying he was open for work or not. I just remember seeing his art and going, that's what Monster MD should look like. He's capturing the monsters. He's capturing the horror and the humor perfectly. So I just sent him a message. I just was like, don't even expect a response. Just send him a message. And I said, are you open for work? He said, yeah. I said, I'd like to hire you for a pinup. He did this amazing pinup of Wyatt falling asleep in the lab and Heidi sneaking up and behind him about to dump a bucket of monster guts on him. It's great. You're going to see it, I think, in the sketchbook. And I knew right away when you put these two together, it's magic. Marco, and then so I asked him, I said, would you be down to draw the comic? Expected a no. I found Tanya on, where was it? Was it DeviantArt of all places? Which I haven't found. I just don't. I guess you could find people there now. I don't know. I think it might be a little different nowadays, where it might be a little harder. But back then, I saw her coloring a bunch of monsters, and she chose all these beautiful colors that worked really well together in a kind of a more desaturated way, which I liked for my book, at least this book. And hired her on, and she's been nothing but amazing since. So I lucked out. I mean, let's be honest. But it just proves, though, it never hurts to ask, right?
Nothing ventured, nothing gained. So put it out there, see what happens. I'm a big believer in that. So then you were bouncing around thinking that model, the business model of webtoons, or posting your comic book thing up. Did you have your own website? Was there a Monster MD website? Is that where you were posting it?
It was on Tapas, which is a free comic book website. There's a lot of manga. There's a lot of it's more, I don't know. It's a lot of webcomics. Okay. And then I tried to get it on, what are they called? I forgot the name of this site, but they're these people who take your webcomic and then promote it and then give you a website and kind of do the work for you and funnel their audience to you. And it gets pretty incredible. Like some of the amount of fans you can get. And they, I think, turned me down or something. Yeah, they do take submissions, and they turned me down for my version of, I think, Kataru Witch Hunter, which is another webcomic I did that I put the whole thing up on Tapas for free back in the day. And that I actually made a website for. And what I was going to do was use this one website to kind of put all my comics on to get myself out there just over time, I'm really glad I'm not doing that now. Like, I don't want to do the webcomic life. I want to do real deal books and get them in people's hands. So,
well, I guess I'm old school enough, because I remember people saying you have to give away a lot up front to get stuff back. And I never totally signed off on that, because it seems counterintuitive to me. My time, my effort, it's worth money, and I should be paid for it. So I dabbled like you in things, but I never really put them up for free, because there was just something inside of me that was like, I can't give this stuff away. It has value. But I do understand there's a lot of people that have built successful, business models based on, like webtoons, comic strips, things like that over time. I just couldn't go that way, that route. Did you, do you think because you did those things, were you able to build a following? And do you think that following brought that following over to your Indiegogo campaign right now?
No, man.
Oh, really?
There were a few people who wrote me nice messages. Oh, I love Monster MD. It's so funny. It's witty, whatever. But I don't think that I drew those people over. When I first started posting stuff on Twitter about Comicsgate, I wasn't even going to reveal that I'd ever made a comic book. I was going to hide that. Like back then, there was this tension in the air that SJWs were going to ruin your life. Okay, if you posted anything, it took a lot of guts for people like you and Ethan and whoever to do what you did. And I was just like, I'm not even going to let people know I make comics. I'm just going to enjoy making them in the background. And then, I'm going to be critical of SJWs on Twitter, make a few YouTube videos. And then over time, I was like, dude, what am I doing? Like, I'm an artsy guy who loves making comics. Why am I not sharing them with everybody?
Yeah.
Why am I not doing what I love to do? Why am I just being critical and negative all the time? This is bullshit. So I started posting Monster MD stuff. I posted a little bit of Kataru Witch Hunter, which was another book I had done. And there was a nice response. It felt good. And then, once Marco signed on, I mean, it was it was time to shift gears into being a real deal comic creator, like I'd always dreamed. I get over the anger, because back then I remember it was just, I was angry. I was angry about what was happening to comics and then to our stories, to our movies, what have you.
Yeah. And so this is definitely a alternative to that. Just bring back the fun aspect of storytelling and non-political aspects. Who cares about that? That can be entertaining, but most of the time it just comes across as heavy-handed preaching. And I don't care for that.
I think it's my responsibility as a storyteller to remind people why we love stories and why we connect. I see the division of politics going on around us right now in our society leaking into our media and stories, and it shouldn't be that way. I want to remind people that they're for everyone and that they're not. It's not about representing this group or that group, or it's not about that. It's about all of us, despite our differences, connecting in that human way that makes a story great and beloved for ages on end. There's
universal experiences, and as a storyteller you want to tap into that. So if they're universal experiences, then it doesn't matter what your political leanings are or what your nationality or your sex is or any of those things. You can still relate to them and connect to them. And that's the thing is when you start tailoring things, then you're definitely have an agenda. You're trying to sell something to a specific market. And I don't know. I don't want to frame things up as good or bad, but for me personally, I don't care for it. If there's people that like it, then that's fine. But I don't really care for it. So then so now you've realized that you want to do Monster MD and that you've kind of got to a place where you don't really like what's happening in the comic book marketplace. So then what was your leap? What was your big leap of faith to like Comicsgate and kind of start hanging out with the likes of me?
So it was, what was it? It was, your boy Zach, he did what we all kind of were thinking. I'm going to make my own comic. And Ethan said, I'm going to make a comic. And all these awesome artists stepped up. But I was already like hardline Comicsgate then. I was presenting myself as more of a YouTube critic is what it was baking myself as. But when I decided to step out into it, I was like, dude, I'm not a YouTube critic. I'm a comic book creator. I'm a storyteller, man. So when Marco signed on, And Tanya said yes, she would come back, because I didn't know if Tanya was going to come back. I was all tense. I was like, Tanya already did colors for that original version of Monster MD, and that just kind of went kaput. So what do we, is she going to say yes to this? And she did. I was so stoked. So once the old team was back together, man, I was like, let's start kicking ass. That was it. That was my leap of faith, because I was going to have to spend a bunch of money to start over from square one on that book. On a book I had already put a bunch of time and money and energy into. The downside of that was you put a bunch of time and energy, like over a year or two of work, into this 75 pages, and now it's all gone. The plus side, I know how to manage a team well. I did a lot of work on refining Monster MD as a product, as a vision, to where I was putting a lot of cool stuff into the art with the artist's permission. I was adding all these stickers inside of Wyatt's van, onto things, and different fun little things, creepy protection sigils to show that Wyatt has one foot in, the archaic and the magical, and then one foot in science. You see all of his gear and scientific stuff everywhere. And I was kind of putting all that in, and now I'm doing with Marco's work, with his permission, of course. And it's really, I think, part of the success of Monster MD looking like this fun, cohesive, very established product that helps people want to buy it, So like, I learned a lot from that first version. It kind of was a good workout, I guess, it got me primed and ready for this. And then I was already like gung-ho Comicsgate when I launched, so I had no problem, jumping on board with this new book.
So did you launch before you connected with some of the Comicsgate guys, or was it kind of the same time?
I mean, I already had a little following on Twitter of Comicsgaters, and but it wasn't much, and I had already made some YouTube videos. A few people actually really liked me, and I think I had been on some YouTubes with people. I don't know if I had started Monster MD or the new version then. Yeah, it was I don't think I had connected with the bigger people. I just was looking from the outside in on you guys, like, wow, look what they're doing. So from there, it was building an audience.
Yeah, going back, it isn't wasted time. So for me, I don't know if it's like you, but the longer I spend with these characters or with these concepts, you almost feel like them, like they're your friends. You know what they would do, what they wouldn't do, and sometimes that takes, for me anyway, it takes time. So I have several versions of Black and White, and some of them are drawn, like completely drawn versions of the series. 6 issues of just layouts, like every page, every panel, and eventually I probably it will see the light of day at some point. But it also got me to the point where I understood the characters. I knew what I wanted to do. So, when I looked back, when I decided I was going to do Black and White, Indiegogo, and bring it back, I decided, well, I knew what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do. You know what I mean? I knew what aspects, because I had already done all these different versions of the story. So it's kind of like when you're creating something. That's why I'm so jealous of film, because they have a lot of money and they can pursue whims. And you know what I'm talking about when I say this? Like, you think, like, what if the character did this? Mm-hmm. And so then you can go off on this tangent and you can explore that. And so sometimes it's even the backstory of the character. It will never be in the book, but you don't know that when you're writing it, right? You're just going off on this tangent. So you're indulging these ideas, and then you're like, oh, okay. But it slows the story down. I can't really do that. But now you understand that character better. You know what I mean? Now you know where they're coming from. So as you're writing them in the story proper, the story that you're telling, you start thinking, if I could just drop this little bit of dialogue here, or this little action here, it informs people on the character without telling that 8-page backstory or whatever it is. And so those, for me, the only way I can get to that point, because I really don't write, I lay out, I draw the stuff. I'm like, what's his name? Keith Giffen, where I draw the layouts. I'm starting to write more now, but all my earlier stuff, I just drew it out because it was faster for me. I'm also pretty dyslexic, so it's hard for me to, on some days I can't even decipher. It's like some kind of code, like I can't break,
Oh, wow.
which is just letters and numbers.
Yeah.
So it's just faster for me to do that. So yeah, but you know, I always hate hearing these guys like, oh, well, we were in development for 3 years, and then you see all the development art, right? Like they hired a whole art team, right? And they have all these worlds and all these things that they've created, and then you're going, there's $5 million right there on that wall. You know what I mean? Like I can't do that. I don't have the luxury of doing that. I wish I did.
And yet, because you do comics, you can do anything for way cheaper than they did. You know what I'm saying? Like I was a guy who was in film, but because I'm not doing these multi-million-dollar projects, which those are rare, you know. In fact, they're more rare than ever because Hollywood makes less movies than ever right now. So my world of film was, we can't do anything because it's not in the budget. Right? My world of film was, I couldn't even turn in a script and have people stay true to that without them changing everything. Like everywhere I looked was no. And then when I moved into comics, it was like, it's comics. I could do whatever I want. If I want an 8-page backstory, I can do it. You know, and as I'm writing scripts, I will change things and I will throw a backstory in, and I will go, oh, I'm trying to keep it short though. So I'll just do a whole backstory in 1 page, because every panel could be like a different segment of that person's life. That's like the power of comics right there. And that's what another thing I love about them is, like, I'll have my bad guy getting like killed by the good guy. And then right before like he takes his head off, we'll do like a page showing 4 or 5 panels of that villain's backstory and how it's meaningful, and then we just cut back, you know. And I couldn't have done that in film. I couldn't pursue whims ever, actually. Maybe if I was on set and we did like some low budget creative solution, which can happen.
The whims that make it into the script. I'm talking about the whims that you go off to get to the final script. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, the developmental stuff, like all the tangents and the little pre-prod, you know, obstacles that you take to get to that one point. And I guess what I'm trying to say is we all can do that, but I don't get paid to do that. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
If I was getting paid to develop a comic book, holy shit. Yeah. If every day I was on some kind of salary and I could just like, okay, you're going to get X amount of dollars. Yeah. Oh my gosh. All the bells and whistles, right? I can go above and beyond. It's like, oh, well, let's see what this world is like, you know, and spend 2 days on that. But the reality of it is it's very time sensitive. So the least amount of time that we can spend on it, which sounds horrible, the more profit there is for us. So, you know, comics have always been, I don't know about film because I've never really worked in film to that extent, but the quicker you can work in comic books, the more money you can make. Just pure and simple. You know, if you can color a page a day, then you get paid for that 1 page for that 1 day. But if you could color 3 pages a day, you just tripled your salary, you know, in the same amount of time. So it's always been that for me. So whenever I'm kind of going off on tangents, I always have to pull myself back and go, I'm not getting paid for this. You know what I mean? This is fun, but I'm not really getting paid for this.
Yeah, balance that time. I mean, to me, the more I make comics, the more I do realize that part of the art of it is speed and knowing, like, getting the high quality, but at a fast pace, you know? That's part of the art. If you can't just take all the time in the world. It's true. It's very true.
Yeah. Thank you. Charlie's London. And I'm glad you got the book, and thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah. It's really a balancing act. And most of the developmental stuff that I did on Chrono in the day is, there was this story I told, it was weeks ago, about getting canned from Marvel. Well, it was one of those mixed blessings, and actually in the big scheme of things, they did me a favor, because Chrono Mechanics would probably have never happened. So what I did with my wife's, you know, is I pulled money out, and I spent 2 years just developing stuff. I developed a bunch of IPs for animation, for film, got into screenwriting, got an agent, did all those things for 2 years, but I funded it. You know what I mean? Like I paid for it. So
Right.
I invested back into myself and developed a lot of that, those IPs and those looks. And to be honest, it was nerve-wracking just because there wasn't money coming in, but it was creatively, it was one of the most fulfilling times of my life. And it's happening again, you know, with Comicsgate and some of the bigger numbers that we're throwing up is giving us time to develop IPs and to develop these ideas in a way that we wouldn't have been able to do any other way, you know, because also those black and white ideas that I was telling you about, I did like what you're doing right now, Vaughn, is I had my day job, which was Marvel, and I would ink 8 to 10 hours. I'd come home, spend a few hours with my family, eat dinner, and then I would work until I dropped on black and white. You know what I mean? Yeah. I had my little lap board and I would just sit in front of the TV and I would draw, you know, and try to spend time. My daughter was young and try to spend time with the family and be as interactive as I could. But you know, so I know about that, but man, you have to feel this. It's frustrating because it takes so damn long, right? Yeah. You only have maybe 2 or 3 hours a day to spend on a thing that you really love. So you find you're spending 8 to 10 hours. Like, I just want to get home, eat dinner with my family, and then draw for the next 3 hours until I can't, you know, draw anymore, you know?
It's true, and it's everything becomes blurry. I feel like my time is a blur, and I definitely like regulate it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get home and I'm gonna eat. It's gonna only take me 30 minutes. I'm gonna get right to work. You know, I want to get X amount of pages done tonight on my script or whatever. But it's one day to kind of blurs into the next. To be honest, I just want to get this Monster MD done and go on vacation for like a minute. And then I'll get back into my next big book and launching that. But it's, oh man, I love it though, because it is the most satisfying and productive thing I've ever done too. So it's amazing. If I didn't have that job, I wonder if I would work as fast and as hard as I do on, you know, getting that stuff done when I get home.
Yeah. And trust me, you know, that vacation that you're thinking you're going to have, I thought the same thing with black and white was done. No. I think at best I took a day, maybe a day and a half off, and then because it doesn't go away, right? It just the emails keep coming, you know, because you basically created something that now has a life of its own, right? And it doesn't go away. It will keep reminding you in the form of like emails and like, hey man, I haven't gotten paid. Hey, where are the pages? Where's this? Where's that? You know what I mean?
We got to get down to 3 balls, buddy.
Yeah.
3 balls.
The 3-ball juggle, that's what we call it. The comics ball juggle. Yeah.
That's right. That's the name of this stream now.
The 3-ball juggle. I don't even know if I have 3 balls in me. I might only have 2.
Hey, we all start somewhere, right? I don't know how many I have, because it's like what's funny about my job is I make media and make art and edit film and take pictures, and I do social media. So like I do that all day, and then guess what I do when I get home? Or while I'm at my job, I'll get on Twitter and promote Monster MD too. Like I'm doing social media on multiple fronts. Like I'm having fights with SJWs, and then I'm like telling people like nice things for a big company. But like I do feel like I'm juggling way too many. But it's going okay.
Yeah, it's like the construction guy that he works all day, you know, working construction, and then you see his house, and it's the worst looking house on the block. You know, he's making all these other dream houses come, you know, but then when he gets home, he doesn't want to work on his own house, you know?
I mean, no, I actually, luckily, because it's comics and I love what I'm doing, I do actually want to work on it. But yeah, I know what it's like though, because I had a dad that was a doctor, and my dad would come home from saving lives all day, and then I'd walk up to him like bleeding out of my eyes, and he'd be like, put ice on it.
Walk it off,
kid. I don't want to have to deal with that.
So was your dad, was he okay with your decision to write pulp comics and work in
when
film?
he sees the numbers, he's very okay. But in general, he did want a doctor. And I started off as a doctor in training. I started in pre-med. I was going to be a forensic pathologist. And all I did back then, this was 1998, all I did was draw comics when I wasn't studying. I would draw Battle Chasers and Spider-Man and a lot of Batman. And I realized, and I started designing all the t-shirts and posters for all the campus organizations. And I was like, this is where it's at. This is what brings me joy. This is what I should be doing. So shifted out of medical, went into art. So.
Yeah, I think we all have that uphill climb with our parents. My parents came out of Depression era, and so they were very practical. They were like, you get a job and you chain yourself to that job, and you die. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty much what you do. You know, you don't have a choice whether you like your job. You don't get to pursue, a passion. You pretty much take what you can and you make the best of it. And so when I broke into comics, my mom was saying, and my dad was still giving me applications. My dad worked at the shipyard. I'm working on Adventures of Superman, and he's still bringing me applications like, there's an opening for a pipe cover, an insulator at the yard. It pays good, and you'll have medical insurance. And I'm like,
stability.
Exactly. And even when we bought this home, it's a pretty nice home in California. And my mom would go, she'd give us pamphlets and go, there's these HUD homes over in whatever area. And, you might want to look into that. And HUD homes are like low income for like low income, families and stuff like that. And I go, no, Mom, I think we're okay. So, I think even like maybe 10, 15 years into doing this for a living, my parents were still like,
when is he going to start insulating those pipes?
Yeah.
That's the mentality, and it's okay. There's a pleasure in proving them wrong, but there's even more pleasure in making them proud of what you've accomplished going down your own road. My dad seems to be proud of me now. Of course, I have a stable career going at the same time. If I didn't, I bet there'd be some nervousness coming from that camp. I'm lucky to have a mom who always was very encouraging, and whatever I want to do, she wants me to do it. And she'll like be the bouncer to my dad a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah. So let's kind of open this up to the chat and see if there's any aspiring writers or in there, and then we can do a Q&A, because I think we pretty much covered this topic. The only thing I didn't really get into too much of like my take on it, but I think it's kind of pretty cut and dry. The main thing was going from the mainstream to what we're doing now. The indie is just realizing that there is no infrastructure. You have to create your own infrastructure, and that there isn't, all these different people that will promote and advertise and distribute and do all these different things for your comic book, even take care of printing. So that was the biggest, I think, jump for me, doing the independent thing, because my backstory is a little bit opposite of yours. Like, you wanted to break the mainstream, and then you kind of experienced, more of the indie, got the indie bug. Mine was, I always wanted to be in the independents, and I did work in the independents when I broke in, but there wasn't any money in it. So I had to I was on my own, and I had to pay rent and, car insurance and all the other stuff. And so the reason I went to Marvel and DC is just for stability, is for a steady paycheck. And that was the long and short of it. So, you go 35 years and you keep wanting to pursue that dream. You keep waiting for that avenue to do your indie story. You know what I mean? That story that's inside you that just is dying to get out. And so for me, it was a matter of trying to find the right time. So when Image came, comics came up in 93, 94, and 95, it made sense to do independent books because they paid well. And then now with Comicsgate and the platform that we've all been building for the last year or so, it makes sense again to do these independents and to fulfill some of these ideas and these dreams that I've had for 35 years. So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
This is amazing. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, well, where do you see this going? Is this a trend? How long is this going to last? And I'm like, as long as people like Vaughn, myself, EVS, everybody else have that dream and that burning desire to tell these stories, and that we have a fan base that wants these stories, we will be here. You know what I mean? And it's not going to, I mean, we want to make a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we want to, because for me, it's not like I want the money to go buy a new car or home or whatever. I want the money to then invest back into the next IP or the next project, and sometimes it's investing just in yourself to give you time to develop that next IP,
Right.
or whatever it is. So that's why I want to make a lot of money. It's not so much personally that I want to, buy all the craziness.
Right.
So I'm way past that. So for me, it's just a matter of making enough that I can continue, the lifestyle that, my family and I have, and then have money to invest back, and then just keep building and developing a fan base, which is what we're doing right now. Just talking, having fun, and just getting people excited about how amazing these IPs, Monster MD, Black and White, Chrono Mechanic.
It's incredible that I get to be a part of this. It's such an honor. This is better than my dreams of breaking in from back when I was a naive kid. This is me getting to be part of a real deal indie comics movement that might be spoken about in the future and in history. And that's just such an honor. And to getting to meet all you artists and be inspired by you, see what you're doing, promote it, everything. It's just been amazing, man. I watched a documentary on 2000 AD the other day.
I think I've seen that. That's a great documentary. Yeah,
that was great. It was so inspiring, and I'm like, dude, we're kind of doing it again and doing that again in the digital space in a way, and we're artists doing our own thing and breaking the rules, and people should be embracing that, because that's how comics have always been their best, is when the rebels are getting together and they're sick of something and they do their own thing. And so yeah, man, it's been amazing. It's been great.
Yeah, and I feel I've waited 35 years for this opportunity, for this opening, and I'm not going to piss it away. I'm going all in. As much time and energy as I have to bring into it is what I'm going to do, because I understand how rare this is. Like, this is not, lightning does strike twice. It did with Image for me, and with, well, yeah, with just as far as independence with Image, and now here. So it can strike twice, but I also see missed opportunities that I didn't take advantage of in the Image years. So I sure as hell want to do it this time out. You know what I mean? Like, I want to get as much product out there, and I want to create as big of a fan base that will support that and hopefully and enjoy what I do as an entertainer.
Man, hell yeah. These are the primo times, man, because what's on the shelves isn't cutting it for a lot of people, and it's time to show. I always look at it as reminding people that the great stories sell and that people crave them. It doesn't have to be about a bunch of suits at a meeting deciding what's going to be cool for the kids this year. The artists get to dictate that. We get to make what's fun and what's cool. So let's give it our all, man. Let's do it. I mean, it's how I feel like I'm going to make comics something that people just kind of overlook or roll eyes at or think aren't cool. And I want to make them think, no, man, this is cool. This is where it's at. This is fun.
Yeah, it's heartfelt, and it's from you. So there's no way that this could be corporate, mandated or any of those things, because just the sheer nature of what we've been talking about for the last hour or so is we're doing everything. So there's nobody we're answering to. You know what I mean? We answer to ourselves and to our fan base, and that's pretty much it.
That's part of why it's so weird when people criticize us as a group. because it's like, wow, we're all just artists in our own little studios doing our own things. And it was Judge Anderson was glazed over quickly in the documentary as just like a cool addition to their Judge Dredd segment when they did this nice, really cool historical Judge Dredd segment in that doc. I recommend it. It was on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, it more or less gets into really the origin and the early developmental aspects of it. And it gets into detail, man, all the different artists that were there from the very beginning and things like that. It's really good.
Great one.
It covers more like the early stuff, you know. But it does get into like the Judge death aspects, and there is a little bit on Judge Anderson.
Yeah. Good stuff. I just loved their punk rock attitude of like, because they were sick of the way comics were back then. They wanted to do them their own way, their own rules. They wanted to make them fun, and they wanted to direct it more at boys, they said, and they wanted it to be more crazy, over the top war and mutants and violence. And it was just, it birthed something amazing that we're still feeling to this day and is still influencing people.
So Rooster Puncher says
Future Shock.
Future Shock, yeah. So I think Kevin was asking about. So yeah, that's a documentary. It's really lengthy too. I hate these documentaries that it's like
12 episodes, hour each.
No, I like that. That's what I was going to say.
You like those?
I like the really long ones because the more I crave long form. Like I like YouTube. Yeah. I like this stuff. Like this is long form entertainment, what you and I are doing, you know, and it's lacking in just the zeitgeist because everything's sound bites. Everything's like quick little, like, here's this, absorb this, boom, boom, boom. And so I think that there's a lot that's lacking because I think the details are where a lot of the humanity is and the fun. So you could just gloss over, like get the highlights, but you know, I want the nitty gritty, man. I want the detail.
I had people tell me I was crazy for making Monster MD so long, but I thought that was a cool selling point because compared to what, like a lot of people, they put out one issue and then you wait 6 months to a year for another issue. And then that's crowdfunded too. And then you have to, it's like, dude, I'm giving you the full story in one thick book, man. I think that's what you're doing with Chrono Mechanics, or
yeah, I'm Black and White. It was structured as a volume 1, volume 2, so I have to follow through on that. But I think just like a lot of people that started early on with Comicsgate, there's a lot of like wishful thinking, like, you know, because we were all monthly guys when we got into, you know, like May and Ethan and myself. So we were thinking like, oh, we do monthly books. This isn't going to be that much of a problem. But we didn't realize how time consuming all these different hats, you know, wearing these different hats was going to be. So I think we got overly optimistic when we gave due dates. And then there were a lot of novices that came in that were following our cue, but didn't have a clue on how to do it. You know what I mean? Like they didn't even have an idea of how to put a comic book together, which at least we did. So, you know, then you had that learning curve that you have to get past. So I really think people like yourself coming in, like this kind of wave 2 that's happening right now, is I'm more excited now than I even was before. Because to be honest, when I you know, a year ago, I was scared shitless, just to be honest. You know what I mean? Because I knew there was a heavy price. Like if I moved from DC and came over here, that there was this build the wall, like that wall was going to go up. And I do have a lot of friends that work in Hollywood and stuff like that. And they were saying, don't. And then, you know, I was just like, I appreciate it, but if I do, will we still be friends? Right. And for the most part, they all said, yeah, but we just wanted to tell you. And I said, yeah, I know, but none of that's true. If you really watch them, their actions speak way louder than, you know, whatever propaganda is stacked against them. And so, yeah, there was a lot of fear, but now I feel really confident. I feel excited about this, and I feel more like I'm I'm part of it. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I'm more invested in it. Maybe because I already have a year, involved with it as well. But people like yourself and Clint, Sweetcast and Tug and even Kyung Lee. There's a lot of people that are coming in right now that are that have a great voice, have a great present, and they have good product. And so I'm actually enjoying hanging out with people like yourself and stuff like that.
Thanks.
Because it's expanding it in the best of ways, in an exciting way.
Yeah, definitely, man. I approached it as because I hadn't done monthlies. I approached it as, what do I look for when I want to back a comic on an Indiegogo or whatever. I like a full, thick, sit down and read it all, and get into it story. So it just made sense to me to take, because it's going to take extra time though, which takes extra money, So yeah, there's been a lot of things for me to still learn. I might I was trying to go easier on the page count for my next book because of it. Nah, man, I already shot past Monster MD on my next book. Like my script is thicker, man. Like it got too epic and too cool and too fun. I kept adding characters and scenes that were too awesome. So, because that's part of the fun of this. I'm just gonna write what I want instead of worrying about page count like a screenwriter does. You're like, oh, I can't do that. The act must end or whatever. So, yeah, it's been the most creative and fulfilling time for me too. It's been, I think. Breaking in is not the word for it, but just kind of stepping in and announcing myself to the world is probably better. I'm a new creator, but I have tons of experience and tons of failures to get here. And getting to talk to you, hang out, and work with you and then learn from all these other artists has been a learning curve that's been nothing but fun for me. I think it's been awesome. And I just think the future is bright, man, because of it. Like we've got such cool, different creators and voices that, I mean, when I watched that 2000 AD doc, I was like, someday there needs to be a doc like this on Comicsgate, man.
Well, they did one on Image Comics. Like I'm briefly in there.
Oh, cool. I need to see that one.
Yeah. So, it will happen. We have to make, I think we probably, to really have the impact, we need at least 2 more years, I think, invested. I think at a 3-year mark, if we're the same place or have grown since, then I think it'll be a good blip on the history of comic books. You know what I mean? But like 1 year, I don't think there's going to be enough. You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, you're right. You're right. We got to keep on trucking.
Slide or a footnote, but no one's really going to, the juggle. But yeah, just back to what you were saying about books. What I'm going to do with the books that I'm going to do in the future, I'm going to start off as 48 pages, and then what I'm going to do with the backers' help is to grow these things and to like do increments, probably increments of 6 pages to 8 pages. It's what I'm doing with Chrono, and then we'll build the book together. So then they can feel invested. And then based on their support is what book they're going to get. You know what I mean? So then at no extra cost, we can build the book together for them. You know what I mean?
Right.
We can bring up the numbers in form of stretch goals. Then, I can afford to hire artists and, the extra expensive, in printing. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. And so far it's working with Chrono because we took it from 48. We just added 6 pages and we're only 1,500 away from the next stretch goal, which is 6 pages. So this is amazing. And it's all because of, our fan base and the people that are, supporting these books. So I did offer a Q&A up to you guys. Did you want to ask any questions of Vaughn and I before we close down? If so, get them in now. Do you have any kind of parting shots? Any asides or footnotes to what we've been talking about?
Well, I'm going to say for new creators is don't ever expect to be handed anything, and don't let your frustrations overcome you, because you're going to have them. But part of the art of it is putting that, letting go of the negative stuff and just taking a breath and going, this is the road I'm on, and I'm going to keep doing it, and staying positive. Take advice from people. Don't expect or demand anything. You can go places, man. By the time I got on the show with Ethan, I had already given up that I was ever going to be on that show. And I was okay with it. I wasn't mad about it at all. I was like, that's just the way it is. I got to work my way up. Maybe my next book. And then, like, the day I think my first round of my campaign was ending, Ethan said, "Hey, come on the show." I was like, okay, I'm there. So it's awesome, man. You make your book the priority. Don't make it about, don't worry too much about the money. Because the more you put into your book, the more people will respond to wanting to support it. I feel like you, but there is a lot of knowledge you need in terms of making a product that's appealing to. It's not just about pretty art, and having the right graphics or logo. It's and telling people it's the best. It's about getting them engaged into believing that this is the story for, that's going to really rock their world. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think what you said is don't expect anything. And if there's going to be a break, there's going to be promotion, there's going to be sales numbers. It's all going to be based on you. The buck is going to stop with you. There's no one else.
That's right.
So if you're coming into this and you think that you're going to get X amount of support, you're probably coming into it with like the wrong kind of idea, because we will do the best we can. We will try to support you, but we can't. No one can guarantee these things. So if you're thinking going in that you're going to get on, somebody's stream and that they're going to back you and promote you, it may or may not happen. Yeah. So the best thing is, like you were saying, Vaughn, is to go into it. You are an island. You have to build this whole thing from the bottom up, and it's all you. And you can't expect it from anybody else. So if you do get on Ethan's show or my show or Vaughn's or whoever's, then that's just icing on the cake. But that's not part of your business model. You try for it. You try, but it should not be part of your business model. Build your YouTube channels, build your social media, get some good numbers. That's why earlier in the conversation, somebody was saying, how should I start? What order should I go in? Do it all right now. Start working on your social media, get out there, create a voice for yourself, get your numbers, go on Instagram, create a YouTube show. Right, wrong, and different, man. You'll fail.
Yeah.
Go out there, man. You look at my early videos, they're horrible.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm all shy on people's videos and nervous, and and when I first started, and then over time you get used to it. It becomes second nature almost. It's great. You ease into it.
Yeah, we have a great question from the chat. I mean, this thing has been probably has daunted, has been so daunting of mankind for, years and years and years. Which one, boxers or briefs?
I wear boxer briefs.
Wait a minute. Is there such a thing?
Yes, Art. Yes, there is. I wear these really comfy, form-fitting boxer things that they're not like shorts. They're form-fitting. They're briefs too, and they don't run up your everything. And I don't even remember I'm wearing them half the time.
They give your juggly balls a little bit of support. Your juggle.
Dance, magic dance. Sorry.
Magic balls. Vaughn's magic balls.
That's right.
Yeah, the thing is,
I've been told.
I don't know if Bob actually wanted an answer, but he's going to get one anyway.
That's right. That's what we do here.
Question. I'll tell you right now. I just go commando. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've tried that out, and it's not bad. It doesn't.
Let it all hang out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Just roll, man. Like sometimes it's comfy.
Sometimes the boys got to breathe.
That's right.
Yeah. So there you go. There was the big question of the chat right there. Thanks, Bob, for that. What is this? I can't even say this. Brief Ixers? Brief Ixers?
Brivzers. Oh, it's a cool comic title waiting to happen. Brivzers.
Briefsers.
I don't know.
I thought he was kind of like doing a combination of briefs and
Oxers.
yeah.
Brief Oxers.
Brief
No.
Yeah,
they call them boxer briefs. It'll say it on the package. We have a word for this, I think.
there is a word.
Technology has come together for this.
Oh man, Justin McClure, Bob bringing up testicles. Yeah, there's been a lot of ball talk on this this stream here.
That's what it takes. It's what it takes to make comics, kids.
You got to have the balls.
There you go. Hashtag gotta have the balls.
Okay, wait. You hold up one hand. Let me see how do I do this. Okay, here. Oh, now hold up. Okay, take this hand down. So it looks like we're both. No, the other hand. There you go.
Yeah.
So now we have.
You gotta have a cojones like this, children's.
You gotta hold your balls like this. Both.
You gotta juggle. You gotta juggle them. You could be Todd McFarlane and juggle 3, but not all of us are the Todd father. Yeah. So
my thing is, I want to juggle 4 balls, and I want to kick Todd's ass.
Let's do it.
I just want to go, hey, listen, man. 3 balls? No, you're a wimp.
Yeah.
4 balls.
Yeah.
This
It's
guy's
a 4-ball world, Todd. It's a 4-ball
What
world.
is this 3-ball and hippies? What? How dare you? How dare you?
I just thought I was being lazy, but hippie, lazy, I don't know, maybe.
I don't know. Boxers, briefs, I don't know. Balling. Wait, is this ball breaking your way into comics? Yeah, that's what the stream will be called.
That's right.
AKA ball breaking your way into comics. Oh, very good, man. Oh, thank you, you judgmental SOB.
Thanks,
How
Eric.
dare you? How dare you, Eric? Well, very good, man. This is fun. And,
yeah.
Are we still on to try to do this as a regular Saturday 2:00 kind of?
Yeah. Let's do that. It's fun.
All right, man. So thanks to everybody in the chat. I hope you had a good time. Thank you, Von Klaus, for coming on. And if you haven't checked out Monster MD, please do so. It is amazing, and it is climbing the charts. It's climbing the charts, man. It's in the top 10, top 5 Billboard.
Yeah.
So I have a little book. Let me see. It's called Chrono Mechanics, and it's now in demand. Whoo! How did that work out? It's almost like I had it planned.
Awesome. Yeah. I love that. Man, I can't wait to read that. That just looks like just pure fun.
It is pure fun, and it is in demand right now. So thank you to everybody who supported it and got it to this point. At 30K, we're 15 away. We will get that next 6 pages into the book. So it'll have a total of 60 pages. And I'm so confident that we were going to do this weekend. I'm going to start laying out those last 6 pages. So yes, we are moving and shaking. So thanks to all for the support, and let's just keep this this gravy train, this crazy train going.
It is a crazy train.
It is a crazy train. Thank you, Ozzy.
I love it.
All right, man. Everyone take care. Have a great weekend.
Take care, everyone.